There are two types of cozy gamers, those that play farming games and those that are tired of farming games. To be clear, I don't think there's anything wrong with farming games. After all, there really is something that's just so incredibly cozy about starting your little farm, the slow country life, and all the relationships that you can build. But is that all that cozy games have to offer? Is there anything out there for those of us who are a bit burnt out on cozy farming? Well, if that's you, I'm extremely excited to tell you, yes, there absolutely is. So, come with me on this little visit to Cozyville as we check out a few of the amazing cozy games that aren't farming. Gourdlets is a chill little city builder where you create a small town full of these adorable little guys called Gourdlets. It differs from your usual city builder in its scope and focus. Most city builders are centered around building systems and optimizing those systems, not Gourdlets. In this game, you're much more focused on designing a cute and cozy little town that you might actually want to live in. You get to shape the land itself and place all the little houses for your Gourdlets. I think the really great thing about this game is that you can really make it feel however you want it to. The general vibe is kind of like if Ghibli were pastel and pixel art. I don't know exactly what you would call it, but all I know is that I love it. And like I said, the beautiful thing is that you can make it however you want. Maybe you aren't as tired of farming games as some. You can make a cute little country town complete with crop fields, barns, silos, and hey, if you want, maybe even a crop circle or two. Or maybe you're looking for a more modern vibe. Well, you can do that too. You could make a cute little suburb or small city and customize it exactly how you like. This game is a bit more involved than others that you'll see on this list, and that's down to the fact that there is actually progression included as well. As you go building your little town, you'll slowly acquire gifts, and once you've filled up the meter, you can call the gift train to bring you your reward. All the rewards that you get are cosmetic items for around your town, but you're given a pretty great variety of placeable items right from the start, and I found there not to be any lack of items for me to use right from the beginning. I think they hit a pretty good balance between slowly giving you more and more things to build with to keep you coming back, and also giving you enough to start with to keep you interested while you wait for the next unlock. I will say that if you're not one to find long-term satisfaction and fulfillment in a game by simply continuing on with the same mechanic for hours at a time, the gameplay here could get a bit stale for you. I personally found that while I loved playing, and literally every 5 minutes I would find something and just fall in love with how cute it was, I don't know that this is a game I could play for a super long time. It's simply too, well, simple for that. However, in like 1 or 2 hour stints spread out over the week or something, I think this game is perfect. This seems like the kind of game that I'll rack up a ton of hours in over a year and not even realize how much time I've spent in it. If you're looking for a chill game to hang out with, this is a great pick, especially if you're left wanting from the customization of things like Stardew. Gourdlets is kind of like a more whimsical and expanded take on just the building part of Stardew, and I love it for that. Speaking of games I love though, let's move on to one that some of you may already be aware of. If you've seen my 5 indie games you need to try video, you'll recognize this one. If you haven't seen that video, this is a self-proclaimed castle doodler, and boy is it exactly that. Considering this game hasn't even released at the time this video goes live, it's kinda crazy that it's already a contender for my Game of the Year. Now, it does have a demo, so I'm very much able to judge what the game is promising to deliver, and man, if it does deliver on that, this is one for the ages. It's basically a little procedural castle diorama sketching program. The level of polish and fine-tuning the procedural generation has is absolutely insane. It blows my mind every time I place a wall or pathway and see it pop into existence in just the most absolutely satisfying way imaginable. Now, the joy of this game really does come down to your desire to build cute little dioramas. If that doesn't sound the least bit interesting, this is absolutely still worth the price of entry, whatever it ends up being, just for the technical and artistic achievement alone, but as far as how much you'll actually play it, if that's not really your cup of tea, that may be a bit more difficult to pin down. I personally think that I'm going to be spending an ungodly number of hours in this game, but I can absolutely see how for some the presumably limited progression and gameplay could be a downside. And obviously, if you're not into the idea of a really cozy and slow-paced, calm time, this isn't going to appeal to you. But I mean, if that's you, I don't know why you're watching this video or this channel, because that's very much not the vibe. So if you are looking for a cozy and chill time, as I presume you are, this, once it releases in 2 days, if you're watching this video when it goes live, you should absolutely consider picking up. I can't speak to the actual true value on offer here because obviously the pricing hasn't been announced yet when I'm making this video, but I would presume it will go for somewhere in the ballpark of around $30, and frankly, I think it will be well worth that much. But we'll just have to wait and see what the final thing is to make a decision on that. But for now, this should absolutely be on your wish list if this B-roll has been to you as absolutely jaw-dropping as I find it to be every single time that I see it. But now, coming off of that, let's take a look at a game that is not only out already, but which has 2 whole absolutely stacked DLCs. This is a game that I'm sure you've already heard of. It's one of those indie games that always gets really heavily covered whenever anything related to it releases. And that's certainly not without reason. If you haven't heard of it before though, boy are you in for a treat. This is a game about organizing, but you're not simply putting everything into its place. No, you're solving puzzles and trying to figure out how many ways that you can organize different objects. The vibe is very much you're bored and have nothing to do at your desk, so you organize and reorganize everything in the top drawer, or stack and restack things sitting on your desk to see how perfectly you can make them all fit together. This is one of my all-time favorite games, and it's one of the very few which my girlfriend actually enjoys, maybe almost just as much as me. I think they hit a really good balance of difficulty and satisfaction. One of the most important things that you can do in a puzzle game is to make the solution worth the effort of solving it. And that is not an easy thing to achieve. Most of the time though, A Little to the Left nailed it exactly. I won't say every puzzle hits perfectly. There are a few BS solutions and things where we were left thinking, the fuck, how was I ever supposed to figure that out? But other than the maybe 2 that we felt that way with, this game is one of the best at delivering on the reward. And I think a lot of that comes inherently from the fact that you're organizing things, and people who would be drawn to this and many other puzzle games are exactly the kind of people who would get a massive hit of dopamine from seeing a bunch of spoons stacked neatly in descending order or laid out from smallest to tallest, or from seeing a perfectly laid out drawer where everything has its place and every slot is exactly fitted for whatever goes there, regardless of how impractical that might be. And the fun doesn't stop there either. This team has been on an absolute tear with the DLC that they've released for their game. Both are packed full of exactly what players love so much about this game. And while the second DLC does have a much lower review score than the base game and first DLC, I have absolutely no idea why this is. While I'm waiting to play through it myself with my girlfriend, I've watched Evan and Caitlin play through it, and it is exactly what I love about this game, just more. So I really have no idea why people are reviewing it so negatively. The only thing I can think of is that it builds on previous knowledge, and they don't make it super clear at first glance when you open the game if you're playing the base game or a DLC, so perhaps people are going in blind to the DLC without having made it through the base game. But regardless, it absolutely does not deserve to be mixed on Steam. And in this case, I would say it's safe to ignore the reviews entirely and give it a go, because I promise you won't be disappointed. But, I mean, that's just my opinion, so do with that what you will. Regardless of review score though, this game is absolutely perfect for a slow, rainy day off where you're stuck inside with nothing to do and craving some good, satisfying, cozy gameplay, and I cannot recommend it enough. But speaking of slow, rainy day indoor activities, let's away to our next game. The devs for this game describe it as a musical exploration game where you create music with machines. Basically, it's a music mixing software disguised as a game. The thing that really makes this interesting, though, is that they take away a lot of direct industry standard controls and replace them with these machines, as they call them. And I think this is a really great idea. Yes, it's not going to help you compose the next Hans Zimmer masterpiece, but that's not the point. The point of this game is to, 1, create fun beats that you can call your own, and B, get you interested in creating music at all. Obviously, this is not going to be something that most actual musical professionals are going to be using to make their music, and the devs were never intending for it to be that. In fact, they license your beats under Creative Commons Non-Commercial International, which means that you can create and use your beats to your heart's content, but you aren't allowed to monetize the direct output from the game. So they clearly aren't trying to make a competitor to whatever software it is DJs and other people use. No, instead, they're making a music creation tool which allows you to have enough control over your output that you feel ownership and achievement, but with which you aren't really able to go off the rails too far. As someone with absolutely zero musical inclination, this game had me really interested in actually making music for real. Now, I'm fairly certain that will never happen because whenever I've ever tried to learn music stuff, it always goes way over my head. But hey, it got me wanting to, and for someone who is more musically inclined or even just more motivated than I am, this could be the first step in their music creation journey, and that's really cool. Not only is it a really great learning tool and game though, it's also absolutely gorgeous aesthetically. It's got this really cool, kind of Fisher-Price toy vibe, and everything looks like something you'd see on the shelf of a kid's room or something. I really love the minimal direction they went with for the environments, and while my personal aesthetics lie much closer to, say, I Spy core, I think having the screen be clutter-free really helps you focus on the beat and not get distracted by other objects that you can't interact with. And on that note, I think the way that you pick notes is really interesting too. You basically place these little blocks on moving tiles, and whenever they move, they play a specific note. Not only do I think this is just really cool and satisfying to watch, but I think it also helps you get a better sense of the beat, and I think it's a really cool way of visualizing what is essentially a staff? I think that's the word? This thing. As you play, you gain different blocks that you can use to change up the beat and make different sounds. It's all just really cleanly made, and every little element feels extremely coherent. Everything from actually making the music to the fact that they let you customize the cassette after you've finished your song, it's all just bubbling over with personality, and it's a really interesting and unique idea I've never seen before, and I think it absolutely deserves a place in the Cozy Game Hall of Fame. It's ideas like this that really push the medium forward, and I always really love stumbling across stuff like this because it helps me to rebuild my faith in the industry and proves really well why I love indie games so much. This game is for anyone who is maybe casually into house music, perhaps who's wanted to get into making beats but never quite knew where to start, or anyone who's never even considered making music but appreciates a well-made, extremely satisfying experience and is willing to give a new concept a shot. If that's you, I highly recommend Oddada. Oddada. And if you know anyone who might be interested in learning to create music but doesn't know where to start, maybe younger children or something, I think this is a really interesting and useful tool for helping to nurture that interest. It's kind of like what a 3D printer is to physical making, but for music creation. A simple and easy stepping on point that has enough complexity to allow you to grow and move past it once you're ready. But that's it for this video. I hope I did a good job showing that the cozy games genre has more to offer than simply farming games. And perhaps you found something you think you might be interested in picking up. If you did, I would love to hear all about it down in the comments, as well as any recommendations for future videos and whatnot. Other than that though, I hope you enjoyed this video. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you always hear about it when I post a video. Thank you so much for watching, I hope you have a great day, and as always, happy gaming.